Anyways, since Marcus won't do it, my name is Stalinik. This is Marcus, and we're joined tonight with a special guest, Tina Marie from Ascend and Conquer.
When there is no more room in hell, the dead will walk the earth.
If you're not of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Ghost, you're not welcome here.
In the middle of the night, ghosts tried to talk to me.
It's interdimensional, so we are living in a multi-dimensional environment.
He's bending down, doing something. He says he sees a shadow. He turns around and there's nobody there.
The power of Christ compels you.
I want you to tell me whether you remember what happened to you when you died.
I went blind. Then I had an hemorrhage, and I fell asleep, and I died in a chair in the corner downstairs.
How come we kill you, though?
By the way, God.
Let's start with your background and what you do.
Okay, well, I'm Tina Marie, and yes, I'm from the show Ascend and Conquer, which is new, and it just popped out, but there's a lot with me. Marcus knows this because I am into a lot of weird stuff like lucid dreaming and astral projection and all of that good stuff, but also I've had a lot of cool paranormal experiences throughout my life, having lived overseas a lot. There's a lot more paranormal activity overseas than I sense here in America, for sure.
Why do you think that is?
I think it has a lot to do with religion.
Oh, right.
Yeah, that would make sense, actually.
Like how? Like, what do you mean? Like, how does the religion affect that kind of thing?
Well, interestingly enough, when I lived in the Philippines, there was so much craziness going on. I mean, my mother was engaged before my father, and the man died of a brain aneurysm. I didn't know about this man until I was living there at 15, and I had this dream, it wasn't a nightmare. It was a dream that he was looking at me through the bookshelf because I was sleeping on the couch, and I can still, to this day, if I wanted to, I could draw him out because it was so vivid.
That vivid, yeah.
Yeah, and I would always feel a cold presence like in the room that my grandmother and aunt slept. And I think that like with Catholicism, there's kind of a smaller veil, I guess, between the worlds of the people that are in that religion. And it was a house that did have all kinds of Catholic stuff. And I dealt with spirits in Korea as well, and that's Buddhist, but Catholics do definitely see a lot more spirits. Filipinos see spirits all the time.
So do you think it's just like the people that are more open to like spirituality and religion and that kind of thing? You think that might be why?
I think that's probably a more concise way of saying what I just said. Thank you.
Marcus likes to reiterate all the time.
I tend to do that.
I know.
Like repeat, but in different words, I guess.
Yeah. So
it was a question and a statement.
I was just trying to
we're doing a podcast with my dad, and my dad was talking about this ghost story, and he was like, so he was about him finding a drowned victim. Yeah. And then he said the boat stopped there, and then he said there must have been a reason for it. And then he saw her in the water and dove for her. And then Marcus had to go in and be like, so it happened for a reason. Kind of why it starts. Like, he just reiterated.
Like, it just clicked because he said that, that the boat stopped and everything. And he had this story going. And then at the very end of it, he said, the boat just all of a sudden started up again. And it just kind of clicked in my mind like, oh my God, it happened for a reason. And I just spoke out loud. And it just...
But I think I know we've been on this kind of religion kind of kick for the past the whole season, and I mean we grew up Christian, and we kind of had this kind of like a different kind of experience through our lives. It was like we were experiencing what you would be categorized as exorcisms. We were in the room plenty of times growing up with things like that, and just like weird stuff would happen in the room as well when those were happening. People talking without their tongue moving and things like that, But I think it's
like a lot of things that people would think aren't real. It was like normal, you know?
Right.
It was like
and I think
really normal. I didn't understand that. Like not a lot of people have ever experienced that kind of thing. Yeah. So it was kind of weird when I talked to somebody and they're just like, "You were in the room." I was like, all the time, But
it's like the teachings with Catholicism and other religions. It's like it primes you to I guess, accept that there's spirituality and there's spirits and afterlife and things like that. And I think it primes us to be more open to and especially in other countries that are more religious than the U.S.
Yeah, I completely agree with all of that. Like everything you just said. I mean, it's I'm a very spiritual person to begin with, and having been also raised in so many places, I've been around so many different types of religions that it's not that I've developed my own religion, because by no means have I done that. But I just picked, I think, the best parts of everything that I've learned, and I stick to that. But I also believe that because I meditate so much, I leave myself more susceptible to like spiritual attack, because I dealt with something even here in Texas in the last place I lived, where it was like a feeling of like an entity or a lesser being, a lesser presence there. And at one point I heard a radio on one side of the house, and it was like a 70s music station type thing happening. And it was like a song that was so familiar to me, almost like I've been, like it was almost like another universe, but like we crossed paths with it.
Oh, funny.
Because
Yeah.
the song was, like I was like, I know this song, but also there's no radio in that room. So I didn't know what to do with myself. I was just kind of like,
okay, that's weird now. Yeah. I thought you meant like your radio was playing in the other room, but if there's no radio in there, that's really strange.
Yeah, that's weird.
So like maybe
I'm not
like
the only one that heard it.
Yeah, oh wow. That always makes me feel a lot better when I'm not the only one that heard something or experienced something. Like you heard that too, right? Like that happens a lot, especially in this place.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Oh yeah. So exorcisms, guys, that's pretty. I mean, what was that like?
Intense. Yeah, it is.
I just remember, especially when I was a kid, my mom, when it would happen at the house, because we have like a long line of ministers and things like that. So, and a lot of times they'd use my mom's house because she had the biggest house, and they would bring their, I guess, victims or whatever over.
I wouldn't call them victims. That's like a horrible way to
they'd bring the person that's suffering from possession over or something like that. And a lot of the times you don't even know that they're experiencing it. So they're totally normal, but they're also having nightmares. They're having stomach pains or headaches, and they're like really sporadic with their moods and things like that. And they would bring them to my mom's house, and I just remember all the time telling us to go into the other room, shut the door.
I was never told to go in the other room.
Well, that was like when I was a kid, like a little kid. And then as I got older and older, I was able to actually be around and see it and happen. And it's, I know we had some crazy things.
I remember that happening before when I was really little. Like I was in the other room, and it just sounded like so freaking creepy. Like in the other room, like all this screaming and all this stuff happening, and like it was kind of creepy until like I was actually in the room with it. It wasn't so scary, you know. That's what's kind of weird.
And like there's one.
Did you feel like powerful?
It was like I didn't feel like I was, you know, basically vulnerable or going to be threatened by anything. It was just I felt calm. You know, it actually felt calm. It did. It was actually really calm to be in that room, but in knowing that whatever it was under control at the moment, and it was literally going to be cast out. So it was kind of like not scary at all. But it was just kind of just intense.
And there's it just goes back to our last podcast with Ghost Biker, and she had this opportunity to be inside the room with a real exorcist and an exorcism happening, and he was allowing her to conduct an investigation while she was there, like setting up her voice recorders and things like that. And I was like, that's a really cool thing to do for, like, they're really secretive about what happens. And and I think that's like one of the ways I'd want to take whether what we're doing with like in the paranormal field is in the future, see who lets us in the room with them. And
we know a few people that will, and a lot of them say, you know, you should put that out, show how real it is, you know. So there is a lot of people that are for it, but I know there's probably people out there that are probably not for that.
We're going to piss a lot of people off, but we do it all the time anyways.
Yeah.
Right. Like I'm imagining that like they wouldn't want to push too much of that out, because it just like the Stargate archives on the the CIA website. You know, they let it come out like 50 years later, 100 years later, and then
Right.
it's
Yeah.
public information. And
Yeah.
I'm sure that's the same type of thing, that somewhere we can go and check out what the Vatican's got going on.
Right.
Like I said that all the time. I tell them all the time. Like, you know, it's always like a 50-year period or a 100-year period that it's released to the public. You know, and so every time we get something, like, dude, they had this like 50 years ago. You know? I tell them all the time. But that would be interesting if they actually allowed something like that to happen. I remember seeing a video. Some guy was cleaning supposedly cleaning the rooms in the Vatican, and he made his way downstairs and found a lot of really interesting things. Like, it's like really, really interesting. I'll try to find that video.
He got down there, like
Yeah,
in the
like somewhere where
catacombs
he
or
wasn't
something?
supposed to be.
Catacombs of the Vatican.
And I think one of the things that he found was like a skull. Like he found this skull, and it had horns. It had horns on it, and he like hauled ass out of there.
That's pretty crazy.
I'll try to find it. It's like so crazy.
That's so cool.
But like,
So,
why is that hidden? Like, kind of like that's
Right.
where my mind went. But
I want to.
Yeah.
I want to dive into like your topics. Like, what do you talk about in your podcast, and like what leads you to do something like that?
Okay, well, I used to run a show called the Psychedelic Podcast, and that's kind of how me and Marcus met.
Yeah.
And that's my homie right there. But, so it's basically like picking apart the human mind and trying to figure out why things are I guess, just why things are, and also the psychology behind a lot of really interesting topics, which I've shut that show down for personal reasons, but I've started a new one. And Ascend and Conquer is really different for me, because where I was, I may have sounded more scripted. This is completely off the top, the new show, Ascend and Conquer. And it comes from a place of like a lot of hurt from myself. Like I've been in a lot of emotional pain for a very long time, and I feel like I'm just now like getting back to being normal again, or what I consider normal, which is completely abnormal actually. But
our normal's abnormal too. So.
Yeah, I love it. I mean, I've got skulls in my house, like, but they're not demon skulls like you guys were just talking about.
Yeah.
No, there's skulls here too. Like there's two right there.
I see some bones. Yeah.
I got a lot of creepy stuff. I just picked up an artifact from Egypt from an archaeologist, and he goes out there and he finds these artifacts and stuff, and he's always in Egypt, and he wrote like 5 or 6 books.
I think so. Yeah, I think it was 5.
Anyways, I met him in Colorado this past month, and he sold me it's like I can get it for you.
It looks like a pharaoh.
Right? Yeah, it's like a pharaoh piece, and I'll get it. You can talk.
Yeah.
It's right there.
But what is it, like the little?
It's like
thing that they
it's like a little. It's like no. It's like an actual little like pharaoh like figure. Like it was carved out of some kind of stone. And you are stepping on my headphones. And it looks like a little pharaoh, and made out of some kind of stone. I don't know what it is exactly.
I don't know what it is.
Okay.
That's what it is.
Oh, it's like, wow. How old is that?
It's over 2,000 years. And it's
just the air, does oxygen not mess up is it porous?
well,
Like, what is the texture?
It's got to be, I'm not sure what it is. It's like it's not really heavy. It's kind of light. I think it's probably like sandstone. But you can see some color on it, and you can see some writing on it, like probably the person's name or wherever it was, if it was in a tomb or something. You can see the pharaoh's, like his little, I don't know what those things are called.
What are those called? Those like hooks, those like staff things. I don't know what those are called.
I know.
I don't either.
They look
I was just like, the hook thing.
Yeah, they look like big candy canes.
Yeah.
Right. Wait, is that a staff?
It might be.
They could be staves, yeah.
But yeah, there's like 2 of them. Like I always see that like they have like crossed, and I don't know what it is, but he has them. So.
I know. I like picking up all this stuff. I have like a Roman glass that's over 2,000 years old too, and that's like a little bottle.
And he had a ring that was actually how old?
Geez, millions. I guess the bone.
It was made out of a dinosaur bone.
Right.
And we were getting ready to record, and he was like, "All right, let's record." He claps, and this thing shattered.
It sucked. That was so bad.
Oh no! I thought that was horrifying.
I think there's a video like on Facebook out of it. I was laughing so hard.
Oh no! I have actually something I think right here. Just one second, because let me see. Well, unfortunately, I don't, but I do have this. It's not right there, but I do usually have it near. And so it's like from, I think, 20,000 years ago. It's a type of rock, and it's in a little plastic package, and I've never opened it.
You know what kind of rock it is?
That's why I wanted to grab it, because it's got really long words on it. And I don't remember right now. Unfortunately, I have a lot of like healing and chakra stones up there because I do a lot of stuff with chakras and meditation. And I've got a little bit of some psychic stuff going on. A lot of people in my family do, actually, on the Filipino side. And my dad's actually Norwegian, and he lived in Montana and North Dakota.
Oh, cool.
You guys are. Played volleyball up there, and it was tough.
Yeah, like we usually doing something like all the time, you know. So it's always different, but it's fun. It is. It's really fun and keeps things interesting. So
yeah, and it's great that you guys like have each other to do that with, because people just don't get along sometimes.
Oh, we don't get along at all.
No, we're always fighting and bickering at each other.
Yeah.
But the chemistry is so good. Like, it doesn't matter if you fight because you're siblings. It's just
there's like so much bickering, and we hit record and smiles.
By the end of it, you're really happy because it's serotonin.
Yeah.
It's like Marcus has this dumb thing where he has to do to me all the time. It's like if there's like a table sitting here and I can't reach it, but he can. I'm like, hey, can you give me that? And he grabs it and he'll move it closer to me, but he doesn't take it off the table. I was like, just give me it.
I do that all the time.
Stupid.
Probably on purpose.
Or something's literally in my reach. I'm like, hey, can you grab me that? He'll be walking way over there and come and bring it for me.
Yeah, that's dumb.
I'll do it as long as it takes for him to notice. And when he notices, he gets so mad.
Yeah.
But I do that all the time.
So I want to get into... go ahead.
That was like such an alien moment that just happened. I'm sorry. You go ahead.
So we've been asking everyone about their like ghost stories, or whether it's like a UFO sighting or
anything paranormal-esque, I guess.
I think the more bizarre, the better. So if you have any stories like that.
Oh yeah, I have a lot of them. Like I was saying, like my family has dealt with this kind of stuff for a long time. I'm not the only person that heard, felt, saw, touched, and dealt with things in that house. In fact, there was a little girl that my mom would call it to me before I knew anything about chakras and stuff. She used to call it, she would say, the little girl, she was like 7 or 8, had her third eye open. And like, I was only 6, 7 and like learning these things. Like, what's going on? She has 3 eyes. So she went to the bathroom in that cold room in the Philippines that my family slept in. And she came running out within about 10 seconds of being in there or something, because she saw somebody standing in the corner of the bathroom.
Oh, geez.
Yeah. But she was a little girl. So I didn't sense that it was malevolent, except one time when he maybe knocked on the door when I didn't go to church that morning, and it was pounding on the door at me. And I thought my aunt was doing it. And I was like, I don't feel like going to church. I didn't want to go to church that day. I was very tired, and it was very hot. And I opened the door finally, and there was nobody in there. And usually there's 7 or 8 people in that house at all times, 0 people in there. So I just went and stood outside for like an hour in that case, because it felt aggressive that one time with the knocking. I also saw a white blur come out from that same room that I would always feel super cold in, and it ran down the stairs. My aunt saw it as well. And ironically enough, not ironically, but interestingly enough, every experience that I had that was paranormal or dealt with spirits, there was almost always somebody there with me experiencing it with me. And it just would blow people's minds, because my little sister has dealt with it too now, and she remains very open to it. And I think that it's a good thing. And I think that it has a lot to do with having, like, just maybe you're so empathic that you not only love so much here in the physical realm, but you still even give love to spirits, even if you don't mean to, even if they're negative ones sometimes. So you're more susceptible to it. I think back to your question earlier, that kind of might have something to do with it too, is just being like empathic and just very a lover of people. I feel like those are the ones that get attacked and possessed too.
Do you think that has to do with like I guess a less intimidating factor to a spirit?
I think it could be either or the opposite. I'm not really sure. Maybe they want to take something from the person that they possess or are around, or that, like, when you're dealing with a spirit like that. Let me go back to the story and I'll come back to that. Like, there's also a water pump in this backyard, and it was the kind you pump with your hand, like they look like oil drills, kind of oil rigs. And I heard squeaking in the backyard, and there was a chicken coop back there, but I knew there was no chickens at the time. And so I heard pumping, and I was like, okay, well, somebody's like maybe doing laundry. And then I walked outside the door, and there was water all over the ground, and there was nobody there. And then nobody had been there. It's the Philippines. It's 105 degrees. It's super dry that day. And also, because the chicken coop is there, it was like barbed wire at the top of our concrete cinder blocks, like all the way around. So
nobody could have got in, or you would have seen them at least trying to get out, at least. So
exactly.
Yeah.
And then lights would turn off in the house all the time, and I would have to go and flip them back down. Like, come on, guys, chill out in the spirit realm for a little bit here.
Now, there's a lore story behind that one, isn't there?
The white lady?
Yes.
Yes, Korean. That's a Korean terminology. I mean, I could teach you all kinds of stuff with that. So those are actually meant to be victims of some sort of abuse or unfortunately like rape and stuff like that. And then they are just like really vengeful. But what I saw, maybe when I said white, I meant like maybe a creamy ivory colorish, because it wasn't pure white like what they say in Korean folklore. But they do stuff with like Samara from The Ring. Like that's that's white ladies, basically. Yeah. That's what they call them. We have walking dogs, or dogs that walk backwards, are super evil and possessed in the Philippines. They're called aswang.
Really?
Oh, funny.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've heard some like story about that, like dogs walking backwards, and like some whole like there's supposed to be a backstory on it, but I've never actually really heard the story. So like,
they eat babies.
Really? Oh wow, that is dark.
Yeah, it's really dark. So they climb into the windows and they take hold of the animal, and they basically possess the animal. The animals walk backwards. So in the Philippines, if you see a dog walking backwards, everybody's like, get out of here. Like, you see that? Let's go. And it's whatever, because everybody's kind of on the same wavelength with
it's supposed to be like a sign that like it's not normal. That thing is not natural.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Has that ever happened before? Like, is there any like documented accounts of something like one of those dogs eating a baby? Or
I don't know. I read all of the horror books. I still listen to creepypasta till like literally this year to go to sleep. So I actually have no idea. I know that I got a real crazy story for you guys, actually. My mom told me this, and so I know it's 100% true. So there was this little girl that lived in the barrio in the Philippines, and it was another little girl, not the same one, and with a third eye thing. And she went missing for 3 days from the same province that my mom was from. I think we're somehow related, but I don't know exactly how. She was taken by little men, she said, as a 4-year-old child for 3 days, completely full, well-fed, not a scratch on her body, completely uninjured, clothes were intact, everything was fine. She disappeared, came back. The little green men had me. And
weird.
Yeah. And so this is in Pampanga, Philippines, which is totally known for all the paranormal stuff, and that's where we're from. So everybody deals with that there. And so they took care of her and fed her and made sure she was okay, and then returned her home.
Wow. That is That is really
why?
strange.
Why would they do that?
I don't know. I wonder the same thing. Like maybe she's special. Like maybe I don't know. Maybe it. Who knows?
Was she in the house when she went missing, or was she outside, or do you know?
She was. I think she was outside, and then she went missing from outside, and then the mom and other people from the barrio were looking for her, and they didn't find her, and they were really worried. She came back, and she seemed really happy. She was fine.
It's like maybe she was like
incredible.
in some kind of distress or in trouble, and they just kind of cared for her. Maybe.
Maybe that's what, like a compartmentalization of a child's brain almost. Like, are you saying like maybe it was something psychological for her?
I don't know what I'm saying actually.
Marcus never knows what he's saying until.
But that sounds really
He
good.
talks
We'll go with
first
that.
and thinks later.
I'm like sitting here playing therapist with something that happened 60 years ago. It's totally common for me.
That's kind of a funny thing though, is like you don't hear a story like that where a figure comes and takes them and takes care of them and brings them back.
I've actually heard some of the stories like that around here, and it's I'll get into that because I'm not sure if I'm allowed to talk about it. So
Why not?
because it has to do with like the whole there's a like a legend and a lore story around here, and they're called Little People, and they're actually supposed to be a tribe native to this place that wanted to remain hidden. They wanted to be, hidden from the rest of the world. So they made a deal with the Crow people.
Yeah, this I have a painting up there in the top right, and that's of Little People and Burnt Face.
Yeah.
And she's like the leader or something like that of them. And
I know the leader's name of the Little People. Actually, I found that out.
Oh,
like all the
don't say it.
I know, like all like the secrets. I was like, you're telling the wrong person.
because I got a podcast, I'm gonna talk about it.
Because I was like, all these things that are supposed to be a secret, they started telling me, and I was like, okay,
Why don't
this
you just
is too much
say it? I want to hear
information.
it. What is it? What's the?
I'll talk to them and see if it's all right to share it, because we might actually have somebody on here that could share it. It'd be okay if he did it.
Oh, I
because
see. It's like an
elder. So
right.
yeah. And he's I believe he's a medicine man too. So
right. We've been trying to
yeah.
We've been trying to do things.
Actually have a long line of that in our family.
Trying to do things right now, I guess, because like when we first started the podcast, you like went rogue and just talked about every little.
I was like, what, just put it
about
out there. Now I'm like, okay, let's be a little careful.
Right? No, I feel that. I'm super careful now. I don't even let one cuss word slip out. Like, I mean, even if it doesn't happen anyways, really. But
it happens, especially when we do an episode with the After Horizons. It's like a total cuss fest. Yeah. And it's like, it's what is it? It's infectious, because I start catching myself like, damn, like try not to cuss so much, but they get me going. I'm like, oh, you know what? Screw it. Let's go on with the conversation. But
you got to make sure it happens fast, though, because I want to talk about that.
What's that?
You got to make sure that happens fast.
Yeah, I know. Like, I was told, how the whole thing happened with the Little People and the deal that was made and what they gave them in exchange for keeping them secret and stuff like that. Right. And like, I even have people that go up to the mountains and stuff, and they would tell me, like, you could literally see it in their face. They're just still kind of in shock. They're like, I swear to God, we just saw a little person, And I remember some people kind of joke, make a joke or something, but their face would not even change, like, expression. They're just like, no, I'm not kidding. Like, I even have a friend, he saw something moving and he thought it was a deer or a coyote or something. And he looked down his scope. He was hunting. He looked down his scope, and he had maybe about 7 people with him, and another person was watching it too. And he stood up and he was looking right at them.
Oh, scary.
And he said he was, really short. He said he looked like a toddler, but his face looked really old. And like, he said, like almost that old leathery face look. He said that's what it looked like. He's like,
still skin.
You just scared the hell out of me.
He wasn't looking at you. He just heard the voice. No, like we've heard like, stuff while recording, and we got it on recording. So it's like, he's so like ready for it.
Stupid.
But yeah,
I'm
but he
sure
said,
I heard a wolf just now.
something out there. What
Yeah, we
time
got-
was it? Oh no, it was in
Every
the
every
lar-
time we do the podcast,
Yeah.
like they never let their dogs out next door, but every time we do the podcast, they got to let them out.
There was like a curfew siren going, so it made these dogs start howling. So that's probably what Jared. Yeah,
Darn, I
but
wish it was like a werewolf.
No, we've been trying to. I mean, our thing is because of Native American, we want to cover these other Native American lore stories, jump in different tribes, and pull the secrets out because I think it's important to be shared. Because I think now we're losing that cultural effect of like youth telling stories.
yeah, like there was one that I wanted to do, and it was like one of my favorite lore stories ever, and it's actually of a tribe down like in Florida, Oklahoma area, and it's called Stikini, and it's the reason why it was like so interesting to me and why I loved it because it has to do with a horned owl. And like we love like horned owls and all that kind of
do
stuff.
too.
I mean, I have like an owl tattoo.
I got
so
two.
like
Awesome.
yeah, and he does
I
too.
got one on my
and,
chest.
And
A giant owl in my room, like on the wall.
yeah, I remember seeing that. And yeah, but I remember we did this episode on the Stikini, and that actually brought us in contact with a group that's going to be on here too, and they're actually filmmakers. And they're going to be doing like a short horror film, and they do like these short horror films, and they're awesome. But they were kind of talking about that. They were afraid to kind of talk about that kind of stuff until they saw us talking about it, and they're like, "Well, we're going to start doing these kind of things, And they actually have some stories about it too, because they're local to that legend or that lore. So
I think
You
we're
guys are
talking too
doing
much.
something amazing.
Let's have her tell another story.
yeah,
Well, no, I'm just
story time.
Really quick. Okay, Marcus ripped his pants the other day.
oh my god, yeah.
He always rips his pants.
I could honestly, like, I was like, oh, no, I know she's gonna bring this up, and I completely forgot about it. I honestly completely forgot about it. But I was like talking, and I was kind of responding to messages, and then we were talking about recording. I was like, oh yeah, like, freaking super positive day, and I turned, and a wheel well of a trailer hooked my pants. All I just heard was a loud. I was so afraid to look down. I was just like sitting there staring, and I glanced down. The biggest hole, my pocket was hanging out, and everything. And oh my god,
What's better
horrible.
is that he used an upside down smiley face. As,
Yeah, I said
as
I-
the button to hold it together.
I was like
That's
trying to
what
like fix this. I was like, I had a button. That was the only thing I had.
Oh
and
my gosh.
Nobody in the shop had like a pin or anything. So I tried to pin it. That's all I had.
Yeah. And you know what? This brings us full circle. Like, because, first of all, circles are awesome, and so is the moon. But second of all, tears in the universe and that radio thing, right? Like,
Yeah.
that's not the only radio incident in that area that happened with me. And
Good
this
segue, by the way.
Thank you, right? Like, killed it. No, there were this freaked me out. This person that I was with saw a bunch of and I swear, like, I don't know what was happening, but like I was hearing like from the radio, another radio thing in the car, and it was like switching back and forth. Me and this person both heard the radio switching from one station to the other, and there were two songs that were like polar opposites of each other, almost like to tell a story. It felt
weird.
like, and I was sitting there like deciphering it, and I didn't really remember like that I was doing that, because sometimes when I like go into like a state of trance, that happens where I can see things for what it is.
Mhm.
And it was really frightening, because later that night, the person that I was with they say, I didn't see this, like 7 or 8 children far away in the field. And it turns out that somebody did die on my parents' property, but they didn't tell me until the neighbor did. So
wow.
apparently he shot himself on accident hunting out there, and he was like holding his guts and like walking back there.
Oh my gosh.
He was able to make it to the hospital somehow. And so he didn't really die at the property. I feel like his presence was still there. I mean, there was another time in the hallway in that house that a painting came just kind of flying off the wall. Not like it wasn't like flying because maybe the space was this wide, like 3 feet or 3 feet or something, and it just went boom and kind of like smacked the wall, and I was like, whoa, what's going on here? And I totally got rid of that painting.
I would have
Lots
taken
of
it.
He would have kept it. He would have made it his centerpice.
I do have some creepy haunted paintings over there still.
I'll take them.
That's what I'm saying. You can have them because I don't want
Yes,
them.
I'll take them.
You don't want them?
All right. No, I really don't. I kept them out there for a reason.
Well, I'm trying to collect things now, and I don't know. I don't know if it's too haunted. I'll get a freaking storage unit or something. But
Yeah.
that'd be awesome.
I knew he was going to do that. Like he'll take these items, but they'll probably be in a storage away from.
If
the
they're like
house.
crazy, but if they're like mild haunted, then I'll keep them in the house and hang them.
He's trying to get this table.
Oh, right.
This thing is really supposed to be really, really, really haunted.
Yeah.
And I was like, I would not keep that in the house if I was you. But
we even talk about this table like every podcast now. But it's a table that's been in my wife's family for decades or generations.
Oh, wow.
And they think it was the great it's like a long time ago. Anyways, the grandmother now is like 98, and it was her great grandfather, something like that. And he built everything in his house, whether that's his kitchen table, his end tables, his coffee tables, and this one was a end table, I think. And it's kind of short, but it's like a good size. And for the past 40 years, they had it bound with wire because it would move, and we called it dancing table because they said it would move at parties, and like it would like
shake.
Yeah, they called it dancing. Like the table would dance, and almost on command they would.
It was used for like seances and used for like spirit boards, Ouija boards, that kind of stuff.
Like it. It's really got a lot.
Do you know the name of that kind of what those tables are called? I know there's a name for them.
No, I really don't.
You don't?
I mean, I tend to protect myself from them. Like I'm wearing, like I've got obsidian here, and
cool.
For protection and stuff. And because I feel like I'm one of those individuals that gets not attacked, but like they want to be around me when they get an opportunity. So I stay away from cemeteries, and I can't go to funerals because I feel like the energy so much that it really affects me mentally, and I can't be around that kind of stuff. In fact, I can't name who it is, but a good friend of mine she's also a podcaster, had me do some shadow work for her the other day. And the person that she was speaking to at the store when I told her to go get white sage and stuff he was Native American, and he was like, who told you about this and how to do it? And she was like,
who told you our secrets?
Yeah. And I was like, geez, that's so mean. Like it's I mean, sage is awesome, but
like it's like people like that I'm like afraid to offend because I'm like,
right.
You're telling our secrets, so I'm like, I'm Native American too, man.
I don't
want to offend people.
We're
because
Native, so I think we have the right to share things like that.
There's people around here that like want us to share that, Native Americans and people that are really traditional, and they're asking us to do it. They want us to do it. So
I can handle backlash. It's happened many times from this.
Yeah, I think that like you guys said, it's so important to keep that culture alive because it was always storytelling, and then like people don't document stuff as much as they used to, and paper can get burnt.
Right.
But the cloud is forever.
Yeah.
Totally kidding, but unfortunately it's true. But I think that's really cool that you guys are preserving that for, generations to come, and that like you could probably make a really huge impact like in your community, just like doing what you're doing and like sharing like cool stories and like getting to know those people that you're going to get to eventually have on the show and stuff, and like shamans and stuff. They're so fun and like so interesting to me.
So what got like I'm always into like crystals and whatnot. So like what's your go-to set of crystals and things like that?
Well, the 7 chakras have 7 stones that are associated with them. So, and this is kind of like a Hindu thing, but like, you know, the third eye chakra and the solar plexus and the kundalini and all that good stuff has different rocks associated with them. I don't have them out here, unfortunately. They're all kind of in my little meditative area place. But I've always been really into crystals, and every full moon I charge my crystals that are the ones that I wear most frequently, because I know that like I feel something from them. Like there's something really powerful that happens, and why or what I'm really doing, then I just do it and it feels natural to me, and I just go with it, and it's pretty powerful stuff, that moon there.
Do you have any golden healers or Auralite or Super
I have all
Sevens?
kinds of, yeah, I've got tarot cards and stuff. Is that what you're asking me?
No, these are stones, crystals.
Oh, I didn't. What was that last one?
There's Auralite. That's like they found it, I think, like 10 years ago. It's like the oldest crystal on Earth, and you can buy it now.
I don't have that. No.
I think it's got like more than 20 different minerals in it. It's like
Oh,
gold
no.
and silver and amethyst, and yeah, it's pretty cool.
Oh,
You
that's
had one
really
here,
cool.
didn't you?
Yeah, I had one here, and it was like a $5,000 piece, and it was massive.
That was huge.
That was, yeah. Super
wow.
Seven's a cool one too. Like that's like not Super. Yeah, Super Seven's a good one. Golden Healer. That's like one of the top healing stones. I work in a rock shop too, so and I got to research this all the time.
That's awesome. I see when I use the stone, like the stones for anything, like if I feel like I'm having a hard time with communication, I'll meditate with it on my neck or something. But I will pick a stone that's proper to use specifically for something to open up the throat chakra, to open up to speaking and being able to communicate properly. Or if your stomach's hurting, use a stone that's good for your solar plexus, like help with your anxiety, help with things like that. And
Right.
I don't, there's a lot that's involved with as much stuff that I do with everything spiritual that I can't even remember half the stones' names, but I know what they look like. And I definitely, I don't have, unfortunately, any like really expensive pieces, but I do hold all of them to the point where like other people can't touch my crystals, because my
Right.
energy is as powerful as something that costs $5,000. Like it might have been $20, but that's my energy.
Right.
And no lie, I was on set doing a film one time with this girl, and she pulled her crystals out, like a small bag of crystals out. I didn't even know she messed with them, and put them next to me and said she wanted to borrow some of my energy. And I was really like, that's, first of all, that's really rude, but also that's really strange to do without asking someone.
Right.
I was offended, honestly. My sister and I stayed in the presidential suite in Korea, in Seoul, Korea. That place has been around for probably close to 100 years. I don't want to be wrong, so Google that, people. But my parents were gone. I was about 10, 11 years old. No, 11. My little sister was really, really young. And we went to the bathroom together every time. Like we were so close. I mean, we literally had to go to the bathroom together. And we were like already scared because my parents weren't there and we were pretty young. And there was this like blue apparition that both of us saw, and we both came to the conclusion that this was like something that had maybe drowned before. It wasn't like a body, it was like an aura, like a standing aura, right? So it was really translucent, and we flipped the light on. We could see it it was dark in the bathroom. I forgot to mention that part. So we're seeing this blue thing, both of us, even my little baby sister, and it really scared us. It was a pretty scary moment for both of us. My little sister ended up getting lost at the beach like the next day, which, think about it, like that was something that we thought had drowned, right? And then she got lost. at the ocean the next day. And maybe we were seeing the energies of what might come. It's kind of like what I feel, but also it could be like something that happened there, like giving us a warning from that,
like this,
from the other side.
like no way that could be coincidental, like at all.
Right.
That is like way too spot on. That
Right.
is.
And my aunt has prophetic dreams, and both my mother tells me like I have to pray them to go away, but like when dreams and stuff come true for people on my mom's side of the family, and even herself, really, please don't get mad at me, Mom, if you're listening to this. But she says like, you know, it's not from God, like pray it away, but like, why if I use what I have for good, or if I know something's going to happen and I'm helping people, is that bad? You know, like I've done stuff, you know, with my cards where I've told a few people like, you're going to get pregnant, like people that think they never would. And then a month later, she became pregnant. And this has happened to me 3 times with pregnancies.
Wow.
So it's pretty crazy. And I don't know. It's just, that's my life. This is really fun, guys. Like I feel like I have so much more, but I can't draw it out because it's the fallen hour right now.
He was like talking about like how you said that. He's like, I like how she said that the way you said fallen hour.
Yeah, like I said, like a grandma, the fallen hour.
The fallen hour.
Like we did a
like on that there internet.
We did a podcast with Al Cooley.
Yeah, Al
and everyone I've ever met, he's like the one that messed up my name like the worst ever.
He kept doing it. It was like I was like laughing.
He was like, "How do you say your name?" I was like, "It's C Dale." He's like, "Okay." And he's like, so he said his name and intro. And he's like, "This is Dale and Marcus," and then Mark.
I told him no. It's like I was trying to explain how it's like, you know, spelled. I was like, it's C-Dales. You know, C Dale. He's like, all right, and I'm here with C-Dale.
Oh no, he said hyphen.
I was like, I told him, I was like, no, the hyphen's silent. You know?
Oh, that's me. Like that's how I used to be in my old show with a hyphen. Like so. That's hilarious. Like I can't believe somebody pronounced
so goofy.
That. It was a pretty cool podcast.
Fun, though. It was really
fun. It was like the worst ever.
Yeah, he's gonna be back on with us too. So yeah, we were just on his. It's gonna be out October 5th, I believe, and then he's gonna come on and join us for like our Halloween season too.
So I guess I'll end with this. I want to ask you a question, and we've been trying to kind of work through this, like what a spirit is, what a ghost is. Like, what do you believe those things are like when you experience them?
Residual energies. Residual energies from people living or dead, as in they leave their mark or their carbon footprint. If you know, like that's kind of an analogy, like, but they leave it in the spiritual realm where it can be picked up. It's here, it exists. You might not be able to see it, but you can sense it. And there's no way that science can explain it, but we all know it's there for the most part, subconsciously, even if they want to not admit it. Everybody knows that there's something there. And I like, even living people can leave their footprint, their dust, or whatever you want to call it, like in places that they've just lingered too long or had something really traumatic happen to them. And it happens with people in the paramedic field a lot, actually, where it's traumatizing being in that industry, I'm sure, because having to see that and getting all of those energies on you, if you're not protected and you don't have your boundaries up and you don't know, like, if you're in a vulnerable place in life, I feel like they're more easily attached to you and it can get really scary.
Do you think that it's kind of funny though? It's like, because we had this conversation with Ghost Biker as well, and she believes that there's
a lot of people actually.
Residual energy, but her beliefs were that they're residual and then there's also intelligent. Do you think that the residual energy you've experienced has that intelligence to it?
I think that's like asking a robot or an AI that's actually highly advanced if they will or would want to develop feelings. I feel like that's not even for us to know, probably. And that
Right.
I'm sure some of that energy gets so entangled with other energies where it becomes like a quantum energy, and it can be a powerful and malevolent and negative force that can wreak havoc. And yeah, absolutely can wreak havoc and can be scary.
Right.
She even mentioned that, like, that there was they tried to ask certain questions and they were literally responding saying we can't tell you that, we can't answer that. Like, there's like these rules, like there's certain things that they can't share. So that actually makes sense.
Right.
So.
I think she was asking if they can see her or if they can something like that.
I can't remember what it was
Or
exactly,
how they're
but
able
there
to
was
come
certain,
through and
yeah.
Yeah, it's been a really interesting topic this past month. Is like we're trying to work through this and pulling different texts from around the world and trying to like dive into those and asking people their beliefs on it. And I think that us talking with someone like you who experiences this on a day-to-day basis and asking you these questions like, what do you believe these are? And I think it's lending more to the conversation we've been having over the month.
That's so cool.
The whole residual energy, or even residual hauntings and stuff like that are the thing that always kind of like gets me, because it's like, just a replay of something over and over and over.
Do you think it's like if there's a residual energy there, do you think it's able to answer, like when people go and investigate, and if it is just residual, but they're also able to have like this conversation or something with them, do you think that they're only able to answer questions confined within that memory, like they're, you know what I mean, like
where that state of mind was in that at that time?
Right.
Very good question. Exactly what you said. I got the vision of the movie The Lake House with Sandra Bullock.
Oh yeah, that's actually
funny.
That's my response.
It's actually pretty good response. Like, because now like my mind's going. So
yeah, because I don't. Everybody just look that up because it's really like it will blow your mind.
No, I like that movie actually.
That's my
like,
answer.
Yeah.
I'm lost here because I don't think I've watched it.
Yeah, because like the whole thing you said with like the the living or dead, with the whole residual thing, there is a lot of accounts where living people left an imprint on a place and it would replay or even wreak havoc in that place, and that person still be alive elsewhere.
Yeah.
So like the whole thing that you were saying that somebody shot himself, like something so traumatic like that happening in that area could have literally left a stain, for lack of a better word, in that area, even though he went and died somewhere else, because that actually happens a lot. It does. It's just like something so traumatic that it just leaves that kind of energy, that kind of thing around that area. So it's just that's what always like kind of racks my brain, is the whole residual deal,
right?
Like stone tape theory and that kind of stuff. So yeah,
that's why being positive is so important. Like if we can control our vibration here on this planet while we're alive, like be a positive energy to this world, because there's so much of that already happening. It's changing everything. And our minds, if we change our minds first, change what happens for the rest of the world, then we got to start from within ourselves. And I think that a lot of people are neglecting that aspect of things. That's also what my show Ascend and Conquer is really about too. So
and it's like this
just be the light.
It's like this manifesting thing, is it like really works for people, of where you think it, you talk it, and then it happens. And I've experienced that this
like
past
manifesting things, or thought conjuring in a way, stuff like that kind of thing.
For a while there, I was always saying I'm going to get new. Well, I do marketing and commercials and things like that in the city and Billings.
Yeah.
And
Billings.
Yeah, for a while there, I was like, okay, so I'm going to get a client, and I'm getting one. I'll get one next month. The client's coming, and I kept saying that, and then in my head, I would always try to like account for that in with bills or whatever, and count how much we'll have extra and things like that. And I put myself in a mindset of doing that all the time, even though nothing was happening yet. and over again, I would just say that I'm getting get a new client, and then within like a month, we've added, and like within a month, we had added like five clients.
Yeah,
out of nowhere. It's like
almost like willing it into existence in a way.
Yeah, you create your own reality.
Right.
We all have that power to do that, and also we have a collective energy of the world that we're always on the same frequency, but there's different wavelengths in that frequency that we are not always on together. And so we can turn this negativity all around. We just have to do it as like a whole collective. And yeah, it's pretty fascinating stuff. But manifestation is very real. It depends on like what your intent is and knowing how to set it. But first, that means clearing your mind and making sure you do have boundaries, because if you don't, then things might cross on over into your side, and you don't want that.
Right.
Do you think like when people have like maybe a premonition of something like you were just speaking of, do you think that they constantly run that through their brain over and over until it literally happens? Do you think that could be a possibility?
Do you mean like with deja vu?
In a way,
like they
like
have
a premonition.
Oh, yeah. I don't think people that actually like have psychic abilities, we don't do that. Like it just happens. I'll be standing somewhere and boom, I'll get like a thought and then it happens. But I try to tell people like so that I'm not alone in it. But it will never be anything negative. Like generally it's good. I did have a really bad one a few months ago, and exactly what I saw in my mind did happen in exactly the place that I looked. I mean, I'll just tell you this without giving too much away. There's a very bad person in my life, and a rock ended up going through the same window that I was standing there months prior to, imagined it happening, and it did. And then it was that blew my mind.
Wow.
That was the big one for me when it came to premonitions like that, because I have deja vu all the time. But
we have like a lot of different types of friends, like we have friends that are ministers or prophets or apostles, and like every different aspect, we have friends that are, Wiccans or witches and, Luciferians. So like I talk to all of them, and try to just get what they believe, and I'm not trying to like be preachy toward them. I just like conversate with them and see what they believe and, how they see things. And I never try to push what I believe onto them, because I'm of Christian faith, and that's where we were, raised, and all the people that I talked to, like, we have friends that are prophets, and they told us, we've seen a lot of really, really, really crazy things take place. And, it's just, all it does just strengthens my faith. I know what's real, and the whole thing that with like premonitions or seeing things before they happen is really, really big for me. And I've actually seen a lot of people before I've met them, and things happen before they happen. So I can completely understand that. Like I never actually said it on the podcast, or except for people like, in our church or just our family. Wow. But it's like a big thing in our family. It really is.
Oh,
but
cool. So we have that in common, like, because my family in the Philippines is really like that, like I said, as well. And premonitions could be maybe the opposite almost of the residual energy, like the counter to the residual energy that gets left behind. Maybe we're seeing the energy that's going to be placed there. So we're seeing lack of space where we're seeing so much space where there's lack of space, and vice versa. That's just a theory.
Kind of like a yin yang kind of thing.
Yeah, like a yin yang type.
Pretty much.
I like hearing like other people's theories on it, because like, I have my own, and I loved like hearing everybody else's too, because I just try to piece
50.
everything together. I try to understand it all, because it is it's pretty it is mind blowing sometimes.
What do you think? What's deja vu? Like, what is that?
Deja vu is like the feeling that you've been somewhere, you've been around people like or places or things before, and it's so strong that it brings you to a place that you can't remember why you're remembering this exact feeling, but it's so vivid that you've been there before.
Right.
Yeah, you catch yourself in that moment, like, whoa, okay,
I always try to tell someone that it's happening to me. And
I
then when
always have to.
And then when I
Yeah.
tell them, like, even that was
It
deja
always
vu.
comes out just like
Right.
on cue, just whoa, deja vu.
Like,
Yeah.
oh, deja vu. And then I'm having deja vu, and I'm like, and that deja vu was like, I said that to you in the deja vu. I was like, it's happening again.
Yeah, I've had
It
that
does.
one before. I've been there. Like,
Well, before we let you go, can you explain, like, why does it happen? Why do we have deja vu?
why do we have deja vu? I think that it can be a warning or something like an oracle feeling. Like it could be something good, and it depends on your mindset and your spirit and what you're feeling in that moment. I think that when you have deja vu, it's important to realize what emotions are going on within yourself so that you can know the difference between this could be something good or something bad could happen after this. Because
Oh, interesting.
generally, when I've had it, something big has happened, and it might be completely unrelated to the incident, but something big generally happens following a moment where I have like deja vu, or I'm gonna have to come back to the show, guys, because I totally didn't talk to you about out of body experiences.
Right.
But yeah,
But like every time I have deja vu, I always take it like, okay, I'm on the right track. Okay, I've seen this before. I know where I'm going. It's almost like a checkpoint.
I always try to change it.
That's kind of how I take it.
I always try to change what's going to happen,
Yeah, I know.
and then I end up making it happen anyway.
Like, it gets to the point, like, I kind of don't share everything I see, especially with my wife, because she gets scared so easily. Like when I wake up and I'm just like, she knows that look on my face, and she just be like, what did you see? And I just gotta look at her, she's like, I don't want to know. I always get that. She's like, I don't want to know. So if it's not like really bad, I'll just, I'll tell her, no, I just saw this, and it will happen. But, if it's something like really kind of bad, I usually don't tell her, because she does. She kind of gets scared easy.
Right.
But
We'll so it's been an interesting topic. I like the conversations we had. It was pretty cool to get into this. But that being said, first time I said that. I always say that. So
Inhale. Just kidding. I'm totally kidding. Like that was to you guys, but like in a non-weird way. Like you guys are awesome. Like I'm watching you guys.
oh, thank you.
oh, cool. Thanks. Well, my name is Sid Elinik.
Oh, you want to like
Sure, Marcus,
let everybody
go ahead.
know like where they can find you
All right,
and
yeah.
your socials and all of that good stuff really quick?
Sure. And I'll also say this for Marcus, because I really have to use the restroom. But you can just look me up on Instagram at Asian Ranch Sauce. I know. And Ascend and Conquer. It's pretty much everywhere right now. My name is Tina Marie Celine, which has a lot to do with the moon. Look it up. It's Greek and mythological. And you can also find me. Just Google me. Actually, but Marcus and I don't want to say your name wrong now. I feel like I'm gonna have to say it just hyphen.
So you could try it to say it.
Seedale.
There you go. You got it. Yep.
Yes. Thank you guys so much. I had so much fun, and I really look forward to speaking to you again.
Yeah, it'll be fun. We'll do it. Well, my name is Sid Elinik. This is Marcus, and our special guest tonight, Tina Marie from Ascend and Conquer.
Cowards die many times before their deaths. The valiant never taste of death but once. Of all the wonders that I have heard, the one that seems to me most strange is that men should fear death, for death, a necessary end, will come when it will come.